Alright, good day people. Once again, my name is James Oluwasegun, CEO of Jesus Exclusive Fashion School. So on today's edition, we will start our sewing class in proper. This is a female suit. Please and please take your time carefully to watch the details step by step. Ask questions when you need questions. Please don't assume you know it. Please don't join three different methods together so you can get an accurate result. So starting our sewing first, we are going to start with the back point, the back. So I'm going to do the back completely so you can see it in case there's any question. I will not get you confused and the rest. So first and first, we are going to join the middle point. So starting the middle point now, you make sure this down is equal. You remembered there is a folding. You are going to sew not up to the folding. You are going to sew like 0.01 before the folding. Alright, now I am sewing with a normal stitch regulator, not fast, not slow, just a normal stitches length. Alright, so you are going to sew on your shape. You are going to sew on the shape. Then you cut off your thread. Let's turn to see the result. Okay, yeah, this is fine. Now the next thing we are going to do, we are going to pick the lining. This is two lining. We are going to pick the one that is full, the one we didn't cut at all. This is the one we reduce 0.5 from. The one we did not reduce anything from, we are going to start with it, and you place it this way, keeping the two edge to be equal. We are going to sew from this point probably halfway. So I'm going to turn it around so I can see what I'm sewing on. You are going to sew just 0.2 sewing allowance. Don't rush, just take your time. Just halfway is fine. Then you cut your thread. Now once you sew it that way, the next thing we want to do is we are going to fold. These are our 2 inches. Now folding 2 inches, you fold it together with the lining. Now we are folded together with the lining, but now you are going to reduce the lining so that the lining is not going to show outside your suit. So you are going to reduce the length of the lining. Now I'm reducing the length of the lining with 0.4 inches. I will go 0.4 inches. Now you flip it around and you are going to sew 0.2 sewing allowance. Make sure you reinforce at the beginning and at the end of your stitches. Now sewing to the top point. Now you will not sew to this up completely. You are going to sew 0.2 below this notch, this your line, this your joining, 0.2 below. Alright, I'm just trying to check it from here. 0.2. Then you reinforce. Now once you reinforce at that 0.2, this is it, 0.2 below. Now you notch on the 0.2 exact. Make sure the notch does not exceed the 0.2 sewing. You always cut your thread so your work can be neat. You have a neat seam. Now once you've done that, the next thing is you are going to bring this out. Make sure you put your hand in so you can get this angle very well. Alright, so try to make sure you get the angle properly. So once you've done that, the next thing is you try to push everything out. Alright, so we've gotten our notch. You are going to keep this coming to the down point. Then you run a temporal stitch holding the lining and the fabric together. temporal stitch. Alright, then you cut your thread. Now we are temporarily done with it. Now you pick the second part of the lining. Now I told you this marking indicates where we are going to sew on. Then you are going to unfold the 2 inches folding allowance. You make it straight and you keep this. Now we want to sew a straight line, straight up. We want to sew a straight line. Now you are going to keep it together. Now you flip it around. You sew 0.2 straight up from the down to the top point completely. Now the next thing you are going to do at this point is you make sure you push this part downward, and if you want to sew, your sewing should be very close to the notch, like very close, not on the notch but very close to the notch. At that point you can reinforce so that point can be strong and it will not easily tear. Then you take the stitches upward. Alright, so you cut your thread as well. Alright, now the next thing you will do after running that straight stitch, if you notice we still have our folding here, so you are going to get the folding this way. You're going to fold it this way. Now folding it this way, we are going to bring our lining. Now if you notice, folding it's already looking exact. Now I'm going to slant this upward. You make sure you use the lining with 0.5 inches. Now you are just going to sew not really half of it, but just from where your lining starts from. Okay, you try to fix your thread back. Your sewing allowance is just 0.2 from the down point. Then you reinforce. Ensure you always cut your thread at every point so you can have neat stitches. Now we are going to pull this out. Now I want to show you something technical, because a lot of persons have done it and they'll have to call me and like, Suit Lord, I don't understand what is happening. No, my lining is longer than the suit. Now after turning like this, you'll not say, Suit Lord, though my lining is longer than one. No, you are going to fold it back so it will be equal with your folding. Yes, so there's advantage to this. If after joining your vent one is longer than one, you can easily pull to adjust it so you make it equal. So if there is none like that, you just try to flatten it and you run a temporal stitch at the base so it can enable you get a proper ironing. You can run a temporal stitch at the base here. Now after that, you cut off your thread. Primarily we are done with our back sewing. You can view it very well. We are done with our back sewing. See the inside. Now how to know if your lining has error is after sewing you try to pass your hand, there is a break or there is a gallop, it means something is wrong. See how it looks inside and it's very neat. Now we are going to iron. The lining is going to be short this way. Yes, so this is how it's going to look like. So thank you for joining this class. So let's move to the front portion of the suit and also the interface. Now remembered, this is our marking, indicates our button button line. So we are going to start with the dart first. After cutting it was like this, so we are going to start with this small dart. We are going to start from the down part. Your sewing allowance is going to be very small as 0.2. You make sure you reinforce at the beginning of every stitch. Reinforce simply means reverse, just like what I just did now. Just like how you run that on your regular wears, that once you are getting to the top point, you start slimming it, so it's not give you a sharp view. You start reducing the width. The same thing we do on our suit. If you notice, it's fat, getting to the down point, it becomes very slim. Now you make sure you always cut off your thread. Alright, so but there is a bit different in suit. Now at this point, you are not going to make sure this 2 points is equal. No, it's going to give this place a pumping out. So what you do is you just try to arrange this point, then you run a stitch at this point. Now any remnant, you can trim it off, blending it. You don't have to take it downward completely, you can just blend it sideways. Now after that, make sure you cut the remnant of the thread. Then you can now join your side panel. Now this is the side panel, the continuation of the side piece. Now your sewing allowance on the side panel is 0.4 inches, just as marked during the drafting. So any allowance you leave during the drafting, that's what you are going to sew on. Now you cut off your thread, same thing on the other side. So you do the same thing to the second panel. You are going to join it together as well, just the way we did to the first one. You start with the dart, .2 inches. Alright, so once you've done that, the next thing is you run this stitch as well, a temporal stitch. Now if you are seeing the side piece of stay is not supposed to be there, please always make sure you trim it, because it's going to affect your finishing, especially when you want to fix your pocket and the rest. So you place this on each other slightly, not too much, just very slightly on each other, so you can get it correctly. Just slightly on each other, like 0.01 and up to 0.1. Alright, so once you trim that way, you still trim just the way you trim the other part, blending it sideways. You don't have to take it down completely. Cut your thread. Now after that, you join your side panel. You join your side panel. And then your sewing allowance is still 0.4, or depending on what you mark when you are trying to get your armhole. You don't have to rush, you just take your time and make sure everything is going gradually. Okay, so you cut your thread. So we are done with the back, we are done with the front. Now we want to join the interface. So join the interface. Now we are going to start from the down point, and we are going to get our marked stay. I told you our marked lining. I told you the mark point is the part that's joining to the down part. So we are going to start this way. we take 0.5, so you're still going to do the same thing. You take down the 0.5. All right, 0.2. Make sure your stitches are straight and your lining is not rough, because if it's rough, it's going to affect your finishing. So you'll be doing it gradually. Take your time. So you do the same thing to the other part. Alright, so at this point now we are going to the table to iron what we've done so far. So basically we've done the front, the interface and the back. We are going to come back to the sleeve later. So let's go to the table and iron. Alright, so at this point now we want to start the ironing. So let's sprinkle water. Let's start with the interface. Please mind you, suit requires iron, like very hot iron. You need very hot iron making a suit, but you must make sure you are always using your pressing pieces when you are ironing the outer surface of the suit, so you don't get the fabric shining and you don't burn the lining and the rest. So people always ask which one is best for suit, dry iron or steam iron. I use the both when making suit. It just depends on. Before I use dry iron, currently I'm using a steam iron, so the both works very fine for me when I was using them. Alright, so this is the interface. After ironing this way, you just fold it. We are not using it for now. You drop it one side. The same thing to the other interface. Let's iron the two interface and we know we are done with anything interface. So you iron. We don't do press open for lining. You just press it one side. Alright, so after that we are going to iron the front of the suit. So we are going to press a side first. Now this press side is going to help us, the press open is going to be flexible. Alright, so we can sprinkle water now to do a proper press open. So you notice first thing we press side before we do the proper press open. So please, it might look like the press side waste your time, but please, it's going to give you a nice result. So don't skip any of the process. Oh, I think this ironing is giving me a tough time. Let me get another one for fast movements. Alright, so after the ironing and placing of our ST, our chest ST and the waist pocket, the next thing is we want to cut our canvas. Now, I said canvas is a fabric that is thick, that is not stretchy. So in case you don't have canvas in your region, you can use the same fabric. In as much as the fabric is not stretchy, another fabric that is not stretchy and use as the canvas. Are we good? I don't know what they call it in your market, but over here we call it canvas. The guideline on cutting the canvas. Please help me with that, Biro. Alright, so there's a guideline in cutting the canvas. From this side is 2 inches, upward is 3 inches. From your neckline is 0.7. So you're going to connect the 0.7 to the 3 inches. Now you take 2 inches downward, so 2 inches, 2 inches, get the line like this. Now from your armhole, this is a female suit, please. Your armhole exact, you come up with space, then you try to fold your button. Alright, so you connect it down. Now from this armhole, you're going downward from your armhole. Alright, so something like this. Then you are going to cut. Alright, so we are going to use just single, not the double. So you're going to apply each of them on the both side. So you're going to place it on top, just like what we have here. Now you are going to cut ST, a straight ST, and you are going to gum it. ST. Now you are going to use ST to hold it together, then you gum it with your iron. Once that is done, then you're going to cut just a little stripe. So you just cut it, maybe divide the gum into 3. We just need a tiny part of it to hold this down. So you start from the down part. Alright, so this is where you need your pressing pieces. Alright, so at this point you're going to trim off the remnant, the excess. So you're going now the width of the ST, I'm not sure I say that. This is 3.2 inches. There is no standard to the length, just make sure the length is below your canvas. Alright, so from this point now we are going to the machine to fix our pocket cover. We are coming back to trim. We're almost done with the front of the suit. ST first. Excuse me. So after trimming your ST, you apply your hemming gum just to hold the tip. Then use your pressing pieces. Now when you're making a suit, you don't have to wait to the finishing before you give it a neat ironing like this. Once you are sewing, you keep pressing so you can be having a nice result. You don't have to wait to the finished level before you iron. Are we good? Yes, very important. Okay, so after that we are going to the machine to sew our pocket. So what we need is our pocket is ready. We needed to cut. Okay, I think we've cut our pocketing already, so let's go to the machine now and start the sewing. Now at this point we are going to trim our pocket to the level we want it to be. I told you we're going to trim it to 0.3. Alright, so I prefer trimming it with my scissors. It's more straight for me, but if you know you can maintain iron fold. Alright, so at this point now we are going to fix the pocket. Alright, so there is a guideline on how to do it. From your dart line 0.5 forward, then you get the width of the pocket. There's actually no standard figure, so it's depending on the chest determines the width of your pocket. So as you can see, for this one now 5.5 is okay. I think the eyes I've made was 6.57, but a standard is 5.5, 6 inches. So you're going to mark 5.5. So I want to do a slant pocket, so you're going to slant it 5.5. And I'm going to sew in between the lines. You know, we folded 0.4, so I'm going to sew in between the line of the folding, and I said from your dart line is 0.5 inches. Oh, please, I'd like you to zoom it very well. Alright, so we can all get this welt pocket well. So you try to reinforce. Alright, so once you reinforce at that point, you are going to place this also. Then you are, I don't know if they are seeing that in very well. because I feel like my hand is covering it. Alright, so you try to get the slant as well. I told you it's a slant pocket. Then you get the middle of it as well. Then you reinforce. You also try to get the slant. Now at this point you are going to cut your thread. After cutting your thread, please always make sure you check. Alright, so the next thing is we are going to cut. You get your shape out. The same thing to the other part. You make sure your notch does not exceed the sewing. I think that's the first guideline. Make sure your notch does not exceed the sewing. Just like what I'm doing now. Alright, so once you push it inside, okay, now if you notice there's a slight squeeze at this point, it means I didn't notch it to where I'm supposed to notch it to. So you just slightly increase the notch, then you push it back. Yeah, the notch is fine now. So at this point you push it inside and you run a stitch at the tip. You run a stitch at the tip. Now you check first if it's okay before you run a multiple stitch, which I just check now and it's fine. You can now run a multiple stitch. This is how it's going to look like. We do the same thing to the other side. Now you are going to run a temporal stitch first, a one-time temporal stitch. Now you have to make sure that your stitches does not step on the fabric, so you now have a squeeze. You are just going to sew slightly behind it, and I told you you're going to sew a temporal first. Now this is it. Make sure it's neat before you now sew the permanent stitch. Alright, so after doing that, the next thing is we are going to run a stitch on the down part. After running the stitch, the next thing is we are going to put our um, pocket cover, which is the pocket bag. Now I'll keep this to be equal. I'll run a stitch on it. Now if you want the pocket to drop, you can increase the length, but I don't want the pocket to drop. I just want to use this exact length, so I'll just end it right away. Then you trim off the excess. The same thing to the other side. So we are going to do the second pocket together as well, so we can learn it very well and we can gain mastery on how to achieve the pocket. So this is like opportunity for you to learn it twice. Okay, so the width of our pocket is 5 inches. .5 inches, sorry. Then you mark the middle. 0.5 forward from the front dart. You are sewing in between the 0.4 Okay, once you get to this other end too, you are going to arrange it this way and get your slant as well, then get the middle, very important. Then you get your sewing, you reinforce. Then you try to get the slant as well, then get the middle. Getting to the end, you reinforce. Then you can now cut the middle. You are going to notch. You notch very careful. Don't exceed the sewing. Once you exceed the sewing, you've actually spoiled the pockets. A little notch spoils the welt pocket, so you have to be very careful and very sensitive when you are dealing with pocket cutting or pocket notching. Then I also notice this one, the stitches are not very tight. It can easily lose, so I will have to re-stitch it again so it will be firm. If not, after the notching, it's going to lose and it's going to spoil the pocket for me. Alright, so we are going to turn the same thing to this part. Now we're almost done with this photo. Hold on. you push this in, then you run your stitches, your temporal stitch first before the permanent stitch. Oh, please always put that in mind. You don't run the double stitch direct, you run the temporal stitch first before the permanent stitch. Okay, it's fine. Alright, so after that you are going to run a stitch on the down part, then you put your cover, your lining cover, or your pocket bag, close it up. We are almost done with the pocket. The next thing is we are going to move to the cover, which is the flap. You trim off the excess. Now trimming off the excess, you don't have to trim it very close, you give a bit space. Alright, so now the next thing we want to do is we will have to measure the width of the pocket to know what we have. At times it could be more than what we initially marked, which is not a challenge. Alright, this is 5.5. At times you get it correct at one and the other one you will not get it correct. It's still not a challenge. Over time you'll get used to getting accurate results. This is also 5.5. Perfect. So we are moving to the pocket cover now. Pocket cover gummed with stay. The next thing is we want to rule a straight line. Once you get a straight line, just like what I'm doing now, if you have a ruler around you, you can use a ruler to get a straight line. Alright, so once you've done that, you also get a straight line. Alright, so this straight line helps you to know the amount of slant. You are just going to slant it with 0.2, just a slight sliding, not too much. Okay, so after slide like this, what we need is 5.5. You are going to add 0.2 to it. So instead of marking 5.5, you mark 5.7. Alright, so you mark 5.7, then you rule your straight line. Alright, if you notice the curve is coming this way, automatically this is going to be the front side. Then you give it a nice shape at this point. Alright, so this is the shape. Now we are going to cut and add a slight sewing allowance, not cutting exact. Watch me, a slight sewing allowance. You don't have to rush, you just take your time so you can have a nice result. Okay, so at this point we are going to place it, going to sew. You know, the sewing allowance we had is just slightly 0.2, so that is what we will be sewing on. Now you make sure your curve is accurate, you don't rush, just take your time so you can get a nice curve around this region, because anything you sew, that's what you surely get once you turn it. The beauty of this is once your pocket is big, you can always amend it, but if it's small, you have to sew a new one. You don't rush trying to get a nice curve. Are we good? All right, so now the next thing is we are going to, okay, I think I have a slight challenge here. You just correct it. The down part does not give me the V I wanted. Okay, so I will just lose it and make sure it gives me a nice V. Okay, so I'll just resew that down part so the shape that I want will come out very well. Okay, so the next thing now, we are going to the table to iron and fix the pocket cover to the pocket. The next thing is we are going to trim this exact before ironing. Yeah, so we can do that, then we will show you the next thing. First we'll iron the pockets. Please help me with the other one. We are going to get, this is the result we are looking for. So let's get to business. So first thing first, you iron this. The next thing, you come to the front. You make sure you iron the front to be flat as well. You iron sideways first, so in case if there's any wrinkles, it's going to help illuminate all the wrinkles. Alright, so after that, you now iron. Alright, so the next thing is the lining. Alright, so the next thing is the turn. Then you bring out the edge. You don't have to pull it with force, if not it's going to spoil this edge. Then you iron first flat. Alright, so after you've done that, the next thing is you try to iron the shape from inside. So basically, so the lining is not going to show outside, and still try to make sure you get your curve very well. It's very important. So our focus is make sure the curve is out and the lining is also not showing. Then you do the same thing to this other side. Now we are going to insert it into the pocket. At times there could be excess, you can always reduce it. Now if you notice there is a slight excess, it's not really too obvious. Now we are going to reduce it. Alright, so what we need to do at this point is we are going to measure what we have for this. Okay, this is almost 2 inches. Almost 2 inches. So that is what we're going to have on this one as well. You make sure you have the same thing. One is lot longer than one. Alright, it's exactly what we need. Alright, so you're going to iron flat first. After doing that, the next thing is you cut Emmy gum just a little to hold it to this point so it will not shake when you want to sew on it. Then you re-iron again so the Emmy gum can still very well. Alright, so after that you just okay, so I believe you've learned how to do this. The next thing is you get your interface. Please, you watch. You get your interface, you place, you turn this way. Okay, now the next thing is so now we will be sewing. Now we are going to start from this down part. You know, there is a fold of 2 inches, so we are going to start from this down like this. Now you are going to sew slightly before the fold. You are not sewing on the fold, you are sewing slightly before the fold, like inside and backward, getting your curve. now I told you we're going to sew to this 1.2 inches. Now make sure you don't exceed the 1.2. Then you are going to notch, then you trim. Alright, now the next thing is you close your waist pocket. We use any gum to hold it. Now you close it. Alright, now there is 0.7 that we trim. You are going to put your gum. Now you make sure the gum part is placed like this. Now this is the fabric himself, now not the lining, and the gum part is facing up. Alright, so you're going to sew. As you keep sewing, you keep moving this to touch the edge. It was like this, so you keep moving it to touch the edge carefully. Alright, now you don't have to sew, you not sew completely, you sew halfway, then you cut a thread. Alright, now the next thing is we're going to apply the same ST. So it means you are cutting ST the size of 0.7 width of ST. You're going to apply it from the top to the down part. Make sure the part that has gum is facing down. Alright, please, it wasn't enough, you're going to add this as well. Now after the sewing, we are going to table to iron. So we are done with the sewing. Now we are going to the table to iron. Alright, so at this point now we are going to iron flat first. Alright, now the next thing you do is you iron Alright, so you're going to turn this out. Alright, so you're going to iron temporarily first. Alright, so after that, now there is a mark already, so you're going to iron so that this doesn't show outside. The same thing from the marking, you make sure this part is not showing outside. So let's get to business. Make sure you remove this edge very well. Please be careful so you don't spoil it. Alright, so you iron. We are done with this. Now the next thing is the back. Now we are going to iron the back as usual. Now first we are going to iron flat. The same thing to this. Alright, now the next thing is we are going to do press open. Now we are not notching any part. Once you are getting to the down part, you end it this way. There's no point notching it. Alright, now once you do press open, you arrange this on the table very well. When I told you the lining is not going to show, so you're going to reduce the lining, then you iron it properly. Now this is a female suit. That's why the shape is coming out this way. It's giving me a nice feel. I'm loving what I'm seeing already. Alright, so you are going to place this and iron. Alright, so after setting it, make sure you get all these shapes out very well. Then we are going to trim. Now you still leave 0.01 when you want to trim. After the trimming, we are going to the machine to join the front and back. Now at this point, you're going to add 0.4 just where we add to the front. So now you're adding 0.5, 0.4 all through. So you're adding 0.4 all through. Alright, so at this point now we'll just go to the machine. And alright, good day people, welcome back to our online class. So we have ironed the suits front and we've trimmed also. This is the back. So what we'll be doing is we'll be joining the front to the back. So we are going to join the side piece to the side piece. Now you lay the suits like this and like this. So you are going to take this part, joining it together, also the same thing. So it's more like you are flipping it on each other like this. So you get this stop point being your setting. You try to hold it, hold it and hold it, then you run the stitch on it. Alright, so we're good. Now you are going to hold it down as well. Make sure one is not longer than one. You take your time. Okay, sorry, I didn't address something. Let me quickly do that. You keep this like this, flat. As it is flat like this, if you notice there's a bit excess on this part, so you're going to trim it to be equal. If not, it's going to affect your shape. You keep it to be equal. So you can now continue. Now if you notice, my sewing allowance is 0.4. On suits we don't sew very wide. We don't leave allowance on suits. You sew it very small. If you notice, see the shape of the person comes out very well. So at this point now, you are going to join the shoulder to shoulder. So the front shoulder to the back shoulder. Now your sewing allowance is going to be 0.2 or 0.3 depending on what you mark when you want to measure your armhole circumference. Alright, so you now cut off the thread. Make sure you always cut your thread. Alright, so once you do that, you do the same thing to the second side. You join the second side as well. Now let me quickly explain what I didn't explain on the other one. Now once you keep this like this, if you notice there's an excess of 0.01, you're going to trim off all this excess. This point, you just try to blend it. Alright, so once you've done that, you're going to join. Your join allowance is 0.4. Don't rush, just take your time and be doing it carefully. You do the same thing by joining the shoulder to shoulder. Always cut your thread, then you join the shoulder to shoulder. So as it is like this, the shoulder to the next shoulder. Your sewing allowance is 0.3, 0.2, depending on what you leave when you were doing your drafting. Then you cut off the excess. Now the next thing we want to do is you pick the shoulder of the lining to the shoulder of the suit interface. You join shoulder to shoulder as well. After the joining, we are going to the table to iron. Now if you notice, that 3 piece now is already becoming one single piece because we've joined them together. They have become one component. Now let's cut off your thread. You join the second part too, the shoulder to the armhole. then you join them together. Your sewing allowance still remains the same. Then you cut off the excess. Now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to the table to iron, because everything is now becoming one. Alright, let's go to the table. Alright, so at this point now we are going to do a press open, but before then we are going to press it sideways first. So you iron side first before you do the press open. So you do that to, this iron is not hot, you do that side. Alright, so you'll be doing it gradually, don't rush, take your time. Okay, so the same thing to the shoulder. You do the same thing to the second shoulder joining. Now after the flat ironing, then you can now do the button, the press open. Alright, so let's start with the shoulder press open. Alright, so we are going to do the press open now. Alright, so once you press open, always use your puller so you can flatten the opening to make it stand. Okay, so once you've done that, the next thing is you're going to drop down your chest body. Once you arrange your chest body this way, you still iron it. Then you close the lining, then you iron the lining as well. Make sure your iron is not too hot on lining, because lining doesn't need much heat. Okay, you do the same thing to the second shoulder. You do press open first before you close your chest body. Okay. Then you keep this down, you iron it flat. Then you iron this one flat too. Okay, so once we've done that, the next thing is we are going to do the press open on the main side of the suit. I don't know, my iron is not giving me that heat I want. I want it very hot. Can snap. So you keep following the shape. You don't have to rush. Take your time so you can get a nice result. Alright, so after that you press your press open very well and you fold your 2 inches. so you can on top using your pressing pieces. Don't rush, just take your time and be doing it gradually. So after we're done, the next thing is the collar fixing. After the collar fixing, the sleeve, then we are done with the class. So we're going to do press upon also on the second part. These I know what to do. We can advertise the suit. Alright, so after the ironing, we are going to wear it to our dress form. As you can see, we have a rolling lapel suit. Even this suit can bead it if you want. Yeah, it can bead it. This is a male suit. The class is available, but I don't bead. So after learning how to make the suit, you can take it to a beader to bead it for you. It's not that very expensive if you get a good beader. Okay, and I know plenty ladies know how to bead because they bead their corset dresses and the rest. So this class is also available. You can register for it as well. Okay, so we are going to wear this. Oh, it's small. Oh, it's small. Oh, let me wait and see. But it's very small for this mannequin anyway. Wow. She no go small for me like this. Okay. I think I have a dress form, a female dress form. But this is how it looks. See the hips is coming out. Okay. So I think the next thing we want to do here is we want to put our collar and our sleeve. So let's